Good afternoon, friends, and welcome to another WSIB Truth Matters with Joe Machado. It's Thursday, the sun is shining, it's beautiful outside. I love it when it's nice out there, and I am pissed off. I'm already pissed off, and I'll tell you why. Just thinking about reviewing, considering, discussing this whole thing of the WSIB's decision-making process just makes me sick. It's rotten. It's just absolutely rotten to the core. And I'm sure it pisses you off too, because you get to see it in the same way that I do. It's rarely in your advantage. And I use that word generously because it's, well, let's put it this way. It's most often not in your advantage. I've spent a lot of time analyzing this subject and creating strategies to give my company that I built over almost 30 years the edge when dealing with WSIB. And one of the main reasons why we settled about 80% of our cases without having to go to appeals, based on this strategy that I've put together. I call it the due diligence strategy. And at the end of the day, it's using their own policies against them, because that's the only real way that you can actually get anything done with these people. And I'm going to talk extensively about that today and on Saturday. So today I'm going to talk about the decision-making process, where a lot of people don't really understand it. And then on Saturday, I'm going to top it off with forcing the WSIB to employ its own policies to get results. But understanding the decision-making process is important. Now, I have a very good understanding of how they go about making decisions, having dealt with them for the better part of 30 years at all levels, within the appeals branch, WSIB, their executive branch, and so on. So I'm intimately knowledgeable of their system, and all of the flaws that are inherent in that system that make it rotten to the core. In my opinion, it needs to be gutted completely. And they need to start fresh based on going back to the Meredith principles on which the system was founded back in 1915. Because there was 5 principles, and they were all very good, very clear, very sound principles. But bureaucrats over the years and over the decades have decided that they needed to go in there and massage it and change it, modify it, and all of this crap that you've barely recognized anything from the original principles. Now you have a system that is totally against injured workers, the demographic group that it was created to serve. And they're awful to employers too. So it's not just injured workers that are getting the shit end of the stick here. Employers are getting it as well. You know, the decision-making process should be very simple. The law basically states that the decisions should be based on merits and justice. And so how do you do that? What does that involve? Well, you need to make sure that you consider all of the facts and circumstances around the case. So in other words, how you got injured, what was happening at the time, what type of injury was it, the mechanics of the injury. All of these things are important. So the facts and circumstances, those things don't change. They're facts. They either happened in that way or they didn't. Then apply the policy and policies to make a decision based on those facts and circumstances, and then to make sure that it is within the law, that it falls under the provisions of either the Workers' Compensation Act or the Workplace Safety and Insurance Act. So it's very simple, those three things. Now, when looking at the process of what those decisions look like and how they impact one person to another, is you want to make sure that you have a certain degree of consistency. So you use the same set of policies and legislation and you apply them consistently so that each case is adjudicated consistently with another. So you don't have one person saying, well, I was injured and this is what happened and this is how I was treated and what happened to me in terms of benefits and support and all that. And then you have another person with a very similar injury saying something completely different and having to file appeal after appeal after appeal. There's no consistency there. How do you ensure consistency? Well, you go back to following the facts, the circumstances associated with the case, applying the policies, because those aren't transient. They can't change from one day to the next. And apply the law, the same section of the law in that particular case to ensure that consistency so that people can look at it and say, okay, this makes sense. But that doesn't happen. And the other thing, which is the worst part in all of this, that the WSIB has totally taken and massaged it and maneuvered it to create its own interpretation and how they're going to deal with it, which is that, well, they say that, well, we rely on employers and we rely on workers and we rely on the healthcare professionals to submit information. Make sense? Yeah, of course it does. The employer and the worker, the ones that were actually in the workplace and intimately knowledgeable of that job and that business, and that's where the worker got hurt, that their information would be warranted and considered and essential to this process. But you'd be surprised how many times they don't listen or believe the injured worker or even the employer. Okay, there's ways to deal with those discrepancies. And then the doctors. So, of course, why wouldn't it make sense to have and consider as the most important part of information in terms of the actual medical impact of that injury, to listen to the worker's doctor or the hospital emergency department doctors or specialists, the ones that are actually involved in the hands-on treatment and care of the injured worker. Makes sense. Makes sense that they're going to get all this information. There may be some inconsistencies. You make some calls, write some letters, you figure it out. I mean, there's ways to deal with that, to make a good, sound decision and apply the policies and the legislation that applies in that particular case. So where do I think the problem lies and why? Well, the way I look at it is that most problems that result in a denial of a claim, whether it be at the operations level, so the case manager, or the appeals branch, or the tribunal, it's medical. It's usually a medical issue. It's either a case manager doesn't agree with the worker's doctor's opinion, refuses to agree with it, and accept the opinion of their own doctors that are on their payroll. I'm sure you've heard the term doctor shopping. I'll get back to that in a little while, but why? Why would you take the opinion of somebody who has never seen this person over a doctor or a specialist that's treating this person who's actually assessed and is treating this person. So would you, if you took your car to a mechanic and you had your mechanic look at the car and tell you what was wrong with it, would it make more sense to accept his opinion over, let's say, you calling a mechanic on the phone and explaining to the mechanic what happened with your car, and then having that mechanic relay his opinion based on what you're saying, and you're not a mechanic, so based on, and he hasn't seen the car? Whose opinion are you going to take? Which one makes more sense? It's just common sense. So when was it part of the whole process, the foundation of the system? When was it stated anywhere that the WSIB needed to have their own doctors or medical professionals? Doesn't make any sense to me. But you know how often they make decisions based on their doctor's opinions? Oh, and that's not when case managers are making decisions and looking at a report from a recommendation from your own doctor or a specialist saying that you need this type of treatment, or you need surgery, and they deny it. They say, oh, it's not compatible. Really? Where the hell did you get your training? And this schmuck who's telling you that it's not compatible, does he assess the worker? Does that make any sense? How often has that happened to you? How often has your doctor said, listen, you know what? I think chiropractic treatment is going to help you. You should go and get it. And the chiropractor's treating you and you're starting to see some improvement. And the chiropractor requests another extension of treatment so you can continue to improve, because that's the whole point here. And the WSIB is not. No, we think it's enough. We think it's maintenance treatment now. What? Maintenance treatment? What the fuck is that? I'm trying to get better. This doctor's telling me that if I keep the treatment going, I'm going to get better. How about when your doctor recommends or suggests that another type of treatment might help? Acupuncture, massage therapy, or more physiotherapy. And sometimes they tell you that we don't think you need any more. I mean, come on, this happens. This happened. This has happened to you, right? So, and then here's a good one. They say you're good to go to work. You can do your job. So let's go and give it a shot. And your doctor's saying, no, I know what you do. I know what your job is. And if you go back to that job, all the progress you've made to this point in improving, out the window. So who the hell do you think that the injured worker is going to listen to? I don't want to get worse. I'm finally starting to feel better. And I know what that job involves. And I know that after a day or an hour, I'm going to get worse. Well, if you don't go, we're going to cut you off because you're being deemed uncooperative. No, I want to cooperate. Believe me. But right now, I'm cooperating in my medical care. right? So I can get better. How oftentimes do you hear that bullshit line? You see how most of the problems are medically related? What if the WSIB got rid of all of their doctors and healthcare professionals, nurse case managers, nurse case consultants, and whatever other names these people have, to put a couple more zeros in front of their paycheck? Get rid of them. Get rid of all of them. You're going to save millions and millions and millions. And how about you start listening to injured workers and their doctors? You know why? Here's a novel idea. Because you have no business being in providing medical opinions and managing people's medical issues. The doctors do. And you know what? They don't need you to oversee them and give them your bullshit feedback and make them feel stupid when a lot of their doctors are actually more qualified than yours. Because you know what? They have an organization called, in case you haven't heard of it, Mr. Case manager or manager or director or one of 200 fucking VPs. They have this organization, doctors. It's called the College of Physicians and Surgeons. Write it down. Go on their website and check them out. Because you know what they do? What they do is they oversee medical professionals to make sure that a standard is being maintained. A high standard, actually, if you will, because we do have a very high standard in Ontario. So that high standard is maintained so that doctors are providing care within that standard. And specialists, you know what? To become specialists, you have to go get additional accreditation and more time with the books so you become an expert. And they're also overseen by this incredible organization. I'm going to repeat it for your benefit again. The College of Physicians and Surgeons. So injured workers don't need you telling them or their doctors what kind of treatment they need, how much treatment they need, what kind of medication they need. They don't need that. Why don't you stick to doing your fucking business? Go back to the books, because to make a decision, all you need is to get the information from the employer and the worker. Number 2, apply the policies that you guys have created. And number 3, make sure that it's within the law. That's all you really should be doing. Nothing else. Because everything else muddies the water to your advantage. Oh, now I get it. You actually created this. And you know what? If you actually did that, you probably wouldn't need an appeals branch. So look at the money you would save there. That could be put back to help injured workers get the treatment that they need, to get better, to go to work and earn money to feed their families. They don't need your incentive. They don't need you to sit there in your corner office, on your stool, trying to create incentives for them to go to work. That incentive's already there. It's called going to work to earn money to support your family. So telling them you're going to cut them off because you don't believe their doctor and you want to force them to work prematurely, is that an incentive? No, that causes problems. Then you wouldn't have to worry about appeal time limits, which is this bullshit legislation that you came out with in 1998 to screw injured workers from their entitlements. Because that's the only reason you did it. because you have a flawed system full of holes, leaking like a sieve. And then you wonder why nobody trusts you. Well, there's a reason why they don't trust you. Because you screw them over and over and over. Actually, you just screwed them over again when you gave employers $1.5 billion. While some injured workers and their families are not sure if they're going to be able to pay their rent, their mortgage, their car insurance, and their medical bills to get better that you should be paying for. No wonder you hate me and you loathe me, because I tell it like it is. You have a bullshit system which is on a foundation that is rotten to the core. And you leave injured workers with any recourse. Oh yeah, if you don't like it, appeal it. And go ahead and spend money you don't have to appeal it. Because we know that. That's one of the reasons why a lot of people don't appeal it. But you know that too, right? You know that. You know that a lot of them are going to quit. They're not going to appeal. They're going to let you off the hook. Yeah, you, WSIB. You know that it's going to happen. And then you're going to say, well, hey, our injuries are down. No. You lie. Injuries aren't down. You just discourage a whole lot of people from applying because you start screwing them over from day one. Now, these are just my opinions. You can take them or leave them. But I know you well enough, and I can tell you my opinion. And I don't give a fuck what you think about it. You want to come after me again? Sure, go ahead. You're probably already plotting to come after me. Go ahead. Because I went out and got the biggest blowhorn in town. It's called the YouTube. And I have this channel. And I'm going to tell it to everybody who wants to listen. Just how rotten you are. To the core. Get rid of your doctors. That'll eliminate 80% of the problems that you have. And injured workers will get healthy and go back to work. They don't need you to push them to go back to work and get worse in the process with recurrences and deteriorations. All of these deteriorations and recurrences, most of them start when you push them back to work and they're already in pain and restricted. And then you deny the recurrences and the deterioration caused by mostly what you do. And then in your policy, you got all of these nice little words, which is, the role of the act and the role of a policy and applying policies and exceptions to relevant policies and no relevant policies apply and, benefit of doubt. Bullshit. You don't need all that crap. And the benefit of doubt in 30 years and 10,000 clients, you haven't given the benefit of doubt to a single one of them. Everything we got, we had to fight for. We had to fight hard and aggressively to get it. But that's because I figured out where your vulnerabilities are in your bullshit system. And that's what I'm talking about today and Saturday. They're going to know that. My viewers and subscribers are going to know that because I'm going to tell them. I know that you worked hard to shut my mouth, to shut me up. You destroyed my credibility. You did all of that. I know. But you know what? You can't do another fucking thing to me. Because I'm going to tell them the details. I'm going to show them the details, and I'm going to show them the process of what they need to do to throw that big pile of shit that you keep tossing at them right back to you. And we're going to use your rules, your system, to do that. We don't need to create new ones. All right, friends. You see how pissed off I am? I told you at the beginning. But as long as I'm pissed off with these people, I'm going to keep coming at them, and I'm going to keep giving you the tools that you need to get your rights, to get what you're entitled to for you and your family. I'm going to keep doing that. As long as you keep listening to my channel, I'm going to keep doing it, because they know that I know all of their dirty little secrets and all of the little loopholes and how to get around all of their bullshit walls that they keep putting up. They're going to show you how to break through all of that crap. And if you follow my system, you'll do it, because they can't deny it. What I'm going to show you, they have to deal with it, because otherwise there's a higher power that controls them and pulls their strings, and they'll become the puppeteers. They'll be forced to listen to you. And then finally, you're going to get some justice. So, the previous series that I did, the 3-part series that I just finished, the tools to make them accountable. In this series, you put them together. It's powerful. It is, because my company was very successful. Over $300 million in settlements, most of which were done without going to appeals. I only show you what works. All right, folks. Thanks again for listening. Hit that subscribe button. It helps me build this channel and put out this content. I've got tons of experience, knowledge, and what works and doesn't work to impart to you in these videos in a very clear manner that it is easy to follow. And I want to do that. I want to continue doing that. And please share it. I know that you probably know somebody right now who's had a work injury and probably needs help, and you can send them a lifeline. So share this video with them and get them to subscribe. Because there's a movement taking place here. Yes, there is. There's a movement. The Meredith principles. There's a reason why most workers' compensation organizations throughout Canada and North America use those principles. Ontario, they figured that, you know what, let's piss on it. We can do better. No, they haven't. So there's a movement to get your power back, to put these people in their place, and to get them to get rid of a whole bunch of people and a whole bunch of expenses that they don't need to do what they're supposed to do, which is those 3 things. Consider all of the facts, circumstances, apply the policy, and make sure it's within the law. That's all. They don't need to be in the medical business. There's others much better and much smarter and more experienced than them to deal with the medical business. All right, friends, I'll see you again on Saturday, and have an awesome day.